So today we're going to be talking about do one more thing today. Coming up next. Hi everybody, my name is Dee Burks and this is Retirement Rescue. Well, last week I did a video on procrastination and that really touched a nerve with a lot of people, as it did with me. We are a bunch of procrastinators. Clearly, we are. A lot of us struggle with this, me included. And the fabulous thing about that video was several of you left wonderful tips and things to try in the comments. That's one of the things I love about doing these videos is that you all hop on and it's really a group effort. I certainly don't know everything and I'm not going to pretend to. But you all had some great suggestions. Well, there was one in particular that really kind of caught my attention. And that was a comment from Bernadette Costantino. And Bernadette had suggested do one thing. And this is what I mean by that. She suggested that you do one little activity when you're ready to quit or stop doing whatever you're doing, to do one thing that takes 2 minutes or less. And she gave some suggestions, which we're going to talk about too. But the interesting thing about what she suggested is that this is not a new concept, and it's certainly not something I haven't tried before, the whole do one thing, but I had really tried it in the context of projects. You know, when I was working on something, you know, it didn't matter if it was a work project or do one more thing, do one more file, send one more email, do one more thing. I'd done that before. Or if it was something as simple as working on a crochet blanket, do one more row, do one more thing, right? And so I had tried it before, but not really in the context of putting it into daily practice. That whole do one thing idea about every single thing that you're doing, whether it's doing the dishes, decluttering a drawer, cleaning your house, whatever it is, that you do one more thing. And, you know, I thought, well, you know, kind of like with other things, thought, well, I kind of tried it over here and it wasn't super effective. And, you know, but I thought, you know, I hadn't tried it for everything. So I decided to take several days, actually the whole week, and implement that every single day where I was doing one more thing and give it an actual test, if you will. Well, what I discovered was there were some areas of my life where it was extremely effective. The idea of do one more thing, but limit it to something that takes 2 minutes or less was very effective. One of the biggest issues I personally have that causes me to procrastinate is that I think I have to have a time block to do something. I have to have, you know, this is going to be a big thing to do, clean out the refrigerator, whatever it is. So I'm going to have to set aside time. So I put it on my list and then it stays on my list because I never set aside that time. That is a big problem. Well, what I found was in the context of my daily living, the do one thing was very effective for me. And the main reason I feel like it was effective was because I wasn't putting those things on a list. I wasn't telling myself I had to block time for it. I wasn't making it bigger than it is, which is a huge problem for me. And by doing little bitty things, I was able to do so much this week. I can't even tell you. In fact, I'm so excited about it because I can't even tell you how much I got done. And I was thrilled about it. That whole do one more thing worked. And it worked in so many areas. Let me give you some examples. Now, first I want to go over some of the suggestions that Bernadette had. And she said some of these suggestions, the do one more thing had come from a doctor friend of hers, which I so get that. When you're really busy, you're a busy professional, or you have a really, really busy life, this do one more thing may be the only way you can get some things done because you truly don't have big blocks of time. So, but anyway, this came from a doctor friend of hers. And really, part of these came Part of these really talk about decluttering. And I've talked about decluttering a lot. But just like the idea of walking through your house and getting everything that can go in the trash, well, instead of walking through your whole house, just do your kitchen table. Just do one thing on that kitchen table, something that takes 2 minutes. Put away some books on the shelves that have been there. Go through a stack of magazines, if you have magazines still, and throw the ones away you don't want. Get that mail off the end of the bar. Either file it, throw it away, or deal with it. Something that takes 2 minutes, and don't commit yourself to a big block of time. One of the ways I use this week was I have been wanting to clean out my refrigerator forever. It just gets really, especially with me doing the food channel now and cooking so much, it was an unholy mess, y'all, an unholy mess. But I used this idea in that I went in and I opened the refrigerator and I'm like, this is a ridiculous mess. And I cleaned off one shelf. I threw away the stuff that was expired. I tossed everything that was bad. I cleaned that shelf off with bleach and soap. And then I put the things back that I wanted to keep. I just did one shelf. I didn't do the whole refrigerator. In my mind, in order to clean my refrigerator out, I was going to need a couple of hours. It was going to be this whole operation, you know. No, I just cleaned one shelf. And I did that in the morning. Well, I would come back and, I mean, how many times do you open your refrigerator during the day, right? And I just love the look of how clean that shelf was. So later that day, I did the second shelf. And then that night, I did the last shelf. You know, it's kind of like it gets the ball rolling. It allows you to break out of that idea. You have to do everything all at once. You need a big block of time, and it's going to be a big deal. It wasn't a big deal. It truly wasn't. And I got the entire thing cleaned out that day, just breaking it up like that. And I didn't plan to break it up like that. It's just that when I had a couple of minutes and I opened the refrigerator door, like you do, I just did it. And it was very, very effective. And I was so excited about that. I mean, it's interesting that you can take one idea, even an idea that maybe in another area of your life, like work, really wasn't that effective, and you can implement it in another way, and all of a sudden it becomes incredibly effective. And one of the things she also mentioned was the idea that the do one more thing kind of becomes a habit. One of the things I hate waking up to in the morning is dishes in the sink. I hate that, but yet I hate doing dishes more. So it's this constant battle of, do I do the dishes? Do I not do the dishes? And by the time it gets late in the evening, honestly, I don't care. But then the next morning, I regret it. So one of the things that I've really started doing is, instead of thinking I have to have a whole bunch of dishes to clean the kitchen, because I'm just one person, I don't have a lot of dishes. I have started to, during the day, wash one dish, wash one glass, do one thing, put away condiments, put away salt and pepper and everything that I leave scattered on the countertop. And all of a sudden my kitchen looks and feels cleaner all the time. Not just in the morning before I mess it all up again, but it feels that way all the time, and I love that feeling. So that's something I've continued to do. Just a couple of minutes here, a couple of minutes there, and I'm not facing a big sink full of dishes later. I'm also waking up to a clean kitchen, which I love. So those little ideas really do add up, and they create those habits just by doing one thing that break you out of that idea that you have to wait until there's a lot to do to address something. You don't. You can address one thing on one table in one room. You do not have to wait until you have a mountain of stuff, because let me tell you what, that mountain is intimidating. Who wants to climb a mountain? I'd rather just climb a little slope. That's me. And while we're at it, another thing, go ahead and take that Amazon box out to the trash. You don't have to wait until you have a mountain of trash to take it out, because what happens? You take the trash out. You forget the Amazon box. It sits there another 2 weeks. There is currently an Amazon box sitting in my living room that has been there a month. I keep forgetting to take the darn thing out. Just make the extra trip. Take the box out. It sounds so ridiculously simple. But when you think about it, it is the key factor to getting you off high center when you tend to procrastinate about things. It can really be effective. So I encourage you this week, today, to start doing one more thing. When you're ready to quit, when you're ready to go to bed, do one more thing. Shoot for something that takes 30 seconds, a minute, less than 2 minutes, whatever it is, and see if it works for you. Because I'll tell you what, it certainly worked for me. So thanks so much, Bernadette. I really appreciate the suggestion. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, please click subscribe, and I'll see you next time.